All right, folks, we're back at it with the latest Big Mets update segment here on the WardyNYM platform. Something we typically do in our live stream format, our post-game shows that then I cut after the fact and post it early morning the following day. I didn't go live last night because if the Mets bats aren't going to go out of their way to actually hit, I'm not going to go out of my way to cover them in a live stream format. That's why we came out with a pre-recorded video earlier last night. Check it out if you haven't already on our post-game reaction and rant. And now we're going to get into all the latest updates of Mets land because yes, that series loss is a gut punch to say the least, but there are some key updates to get into on the bullpen configuration, Starling Marte, top prospects, and much more. So let's deep dive it all right here, right now. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button as your first chime in. Greatly appreciate everybody. And make sure you let me know your initial thoughts in the comments down below, your biggest takeaway from today's video and all the latest updates, while also making sure to check out our great friends, America's #1 sportsbook at BetUS by clicking that link down below in the description. That way you too get 125% bonus off your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. But all right, folks, let's get into the first signing news for the Mets that has come over the past 24 hours. Per Anthony DiComo there on the beat for the Mets of MLB.com states the following: the Mets are bringing back old friend. They are in agreement with Vinny Nittoli. He will report to Syracuse. Remember Vinny, guys? Yes, Nittoli, who was a Mets reliever last season after initially being acquired from the Chicago Cubs, is now acquired by the Mets yet again here as they have signed him to a minor league contract. Nittoli in 12 outings this season, splitting time with the Baltimore Orioles and the Oakland A's, has posted a 1.5 ERA. So what are the Mets getting in Vinny Nittoli? In case you guys didn't pay much attention to him last year, mind you, he only threw a couple innings at the major league level for the Mets, so I understand if you don't remember Vinny. But here we go, Vinny Nittoli. What is there to know about him? Mind you, a very strong season that he is having right now, at least at the MLB level in a small sample size. 12 innings, a 6 K per 9 to a 1.5 walks per 9, a 1.5 ERA, a 3.23 expected ERA. Nittoli with the Mets in just 3 innings last season had a 2.45 ERA. Nittoli, who's been this guy that's been a journeyman at the MLB level, has had plenty of success there at the AAA level. Nittoli, the 33-year-old veteran right-hander that's going to throw, pretty much the kitchen sink at you as a soft-tossing righty. Again, what you're going to see here per Baseball Savant, you're going to have the cutter topping out 89, sweeper right around 82, curveball 81, sinker 91, and changeup 87. And these are his Baseball Savant numbers here, just in the small sample size. Elite extension that we're seeing, fantastic in the walk and the barrel percentages, expected ERA. But mind you, this is a very small sample size for the Mets here. Why did they pick up Vinny Nittoli? You can never have enough arms. That is simply why they did this. A guy that has wow, I can't even talk right now. Familiarity. There we go. Third time's the charm, everybody, when breaking down Citi Field and his understanding of the organization. So the fact that he's not just a newcomer, but was here a year ago, understands how the Mets operate, understands the pitching lab to a degree, that is never a bad thing. So welcome back, Vinny. We're happy to have you back here with the Mets. He will likely be with the Syracuse Mets for the remainder of the season, but should the Mets need to dip in that pool of relief options at the AAA level because of inevitable injuries or inconsistencies that happen to every bullpen each and every year, you do have some options to consider, along with the flamethrowing Shintaro Fujinami, among others. Now enter Vinny Nittoli as a key relief option that I'm sure the Mets may consider over some other options that they have right now at the AAA level. Not a flashy signing, anything like that, just again the reunion here of Vinny Nittoli, who is an innings eater that again can provide them some solid outings in non-leveraged situations should they have to call upon him at any point before the conclusion of the 2024 season. So that's the latest there on Vinny Nittoli, the Mets signing him to a minor league deal. Now let's get into some awesome updates, all having to do with our guy, and yes, Mr. Carson Benge. The first round pick by the Mets this past year, Benge made his, that we see here, Bridge League debut for the Mets and looked fantastic in doing so this past day, ripping a single and a double at 99 miles per hour and 102 as well. Exit velocity, we love to see that there for Carson Benge, who has officially announced that he will not be a both offensive and pitching player. He'll be strictly an outfielder, likely either a corner outfielder or, if things really profile well, a center fielder for the Mets, that we saw guys like Chris Gross, who helped advocate and draft him this past year in the Mets organization, say that that's where we kind of see him profiling. Could be corner outfield, but we're hoping obviously center fielder is what could get it done for Benge in his future. And mind you, lefty at bats here to kick off, his little pro career that we're seeing is awesome to see there. This is just step one of many steps for Carson Benge at the minor league level, but knowing that he's already a developed hitter that we saw thrive in college, it's not going to take this guy, hopefully, 4 or 5 years to hit the bigs the way that you might see with other minor league prospects for the Mets that were otherwise drafted out of high school or international free agent signings. This is not the case here with Benge. It very well could be a case where he's up in the bigs or the next couple years here with that very strong bat first mentality, very strong defense as well. His range in either center, left, and right is going to be interesting to see how it profiles at the professional level, but no less a great start to his professional career in Carson Benge, who I know a lot of Mets fans, including myself, are really excited about how is he going to profile at the Mets minor league level. How's he already looking as a top prospect in the system? And the big question, will the Mets actually hold on to this outfield prospect and not part ways with him the way that they have with guys like Pete Armstrong and Jared Kelenic and previous regimes? But that's the latest there on Carson Benge, everybody. Let me know your thoughts about him in the comments down below. Now let's get into a guy who's no longer a Mets prospect, however, is kind of in this unfortunate purgatory between AAA and the MLB level, a quad A player, if you will, and that is none other than, yes, Brett the Met Baty. Let's talk about Baty because he had himself a massive day for AAA Syracuse. They had a doubleheader against a Red Sox affiliate, and Baty promptly did exactly this, folks. We saw not one, but two towering home runs from Brett Baty right here. Fantastic stuff as, again, he continues to tear the cover off the ball, and just 50 games there at the AAA level this season at 850 OPS, a boatload of home runs, plenty gappers going gap to gap with the doubles, the extra base hits. Brett Baty, what we need him to do at the major league level, he has not simply done consistently, but at the minor league level, he's proving the ability to do exactly that. This is the same Baty who has won some ruts throughout the year at the AAA level. I'm glad that the Mets are giving him as much as at least right now daily reps there and multiple positions as well, because we need to see how Brett Baty looks in a bigger sample size at the AAA level, and just not that sprinkling of games he had before the Mets really considered him heavily in 2023, and then fast forward here to begin the season in 2024 before things fell flat on its face again for Baty, who has these great flashes of brilliance with a very improved glove at the hot corner at third base, which looks average at minimum. That's how good it's looking, thankfully, but also the bat to ball skills, being able to lift and drive the baseball out of the ballpark has been a major problem for Baty at the major league level when it comes to finding consistency, and just the overall consistency with the offense has not been there. But one thing that stood out to me a lot with Baty was not only his ability to have the great offense that we saw in this doubleheader, but it was also this, folks. Yes, Brett Baty, at least one of these games, was getting reps at second base, and I think that's very important to note. There you see Baty making the nice play, getting the throw there to first in time, and he is out of there. The reason why this is notable is because this is a Brett Baty who we all knew was going to be getting some reps at the second base position when he was sent back down by the Mets, and for a while we all thought, okay, once Baty gets going at second base, Jeff McNeil's time is done. Jeff has since really refound himself and has become more of a power hitter, going gap to gap and just line driving those baseballs the way that he has done best throughout his career, McNeil, post All-Star break. So while I don't foresee Baty, getting the call tomorrow or anything like that, you'd have to wonder, what is the future now for Brett Baty at the potential second base position? The reason why the Mets continue to give him reps there is they want flexibility not only for his potential trade value come the offseason, in which he was a hot commodity actually at the trade deadline according to some teams, but the Mets did not trade Baty because, one, they didn't see a package that was feasible to get it done, and two, they also want to see what they have still in Brett, and I love them for that. I think that there's still untapped potential here with Brett Baty at the major league level, and now with uncertainty at second base heading into the 2025 season, are the Mets going to keep or part ways with Jeff McNeil? Are they going to eat that contract? Jose Iglesias, we love Jose, but will the Mets bring him back beyond just this season for, again, a one-year minor league deal type player in himself? That's a great question too. Or is Jose going to sign elsewhere, potentially a more of a favorable contract, a more guaranteed role? These are questions that we won't have until a couple months from now that we're going to see answers to come the offseason. But in the interim, Brett Baty getting consistent reps here that we see now at second base quite a bit, driving baseballs, lifting for power the way that he does. You'd have to wonder, what is his future now in the Mets organization? Which is why my question to each and every one of you that I want to see in the comments down below is, do you think Brett Baty deserves the call when the Mets expand their rosters later on in the coming weeks here? Do you think that he should be an additional offensive weapon that the Mets call upon to come off the bench and as an infield option separate from Jose Iglesias and Jeff McNeil? Or do you think the Mets should just continue to have Baty in AAA outright for the remainder of the year, and then they're going to figure out what to do with him come the offseason? Let me know in the comments down below, folks, because with guys like Jet Williams and Ronald Acuna Jr. with potential futures at second base as well, you'd have to imagine the Mets will part ways with some of these talents, and you have to wonder who will be on the outside looking in. Will it be Brett Baty, or will Brett Baty be an impactful player for the Mets at some point for the remainder of the season, heading into potentially a big 2025? Let me know your thoughts down below, as always, folks. But that is the latest there on Brett Baty, who, as I mentioned, has been tearing the cover off the ball at the AAA level. 13 home runs, 38 RBIs, a 254 average, a 350 on base percentage, a 353 OPS. So he's definitely come down to earth quite a bit. Had a bit of a rut where he wasn't hitting at all at the AAA level. But again, 13 home runs in 50 games is nothing to scoff at. That's a tremendous rate when it comes to extra base hitting. And I hope for Baty that continues, not just at the AAA level, but fingers crossed sometime at the major league level. But now let's get into our final key points of this discussion, folks, and they have to do with the Mets bullpen configuration. It starts with first, Mets fan that I follow. He's always staying up to date with every prospect and literally every player in the organization. There are very few people that I follow on Twitter X that actually talk about guys that were dealt or were part of the Rule 5 draft like a decade ago to see how they're doing now. But that is Daniel Wexler, and Daniel Wexler has this to say about Bryce Montes de Oca, and it is true. Bryce Montes de Oca, who was the flamethrower and right-hander in the Mets bullpen a year plus ago, went down with injury, was out the past year with, I believe, TJ or so, was ramping up back that we saw in the minor leagues, wasn't having great rehab success, and he has now officially been shut down for the entire season with his elbow. The problem with Bryce Montes de Oca, who's a towering right-hander that throws absolute gas, is that, again, and shout out to my man Isaac Robin for pointing this out, because again, it's common sense, but it's true. Yes, the mechanics are the big issue with Bryce Montes de Oca. The Mets have worked heavily to try to get him back right, but his mechanics are a big reason why he has the velocity and the success that he has had at the minor league and major league level. Now we reach a full shutdown on the year with his elbow. For Bryce Montes de Oca, we're not just talking about can this guy get back to being himself, but can he actually get back to the major league level, because this is the type of injury that can have serious, really at times irreversible damage to him having MLB success. Again, not that I wish it. Montes de Oca along with Shintaro Fujinami were two flamethrowing relief options in rehab that I was really excited about the prospect of them potentially impacting the Mets at all this season in the bullpen. Shintaro Fujinami, there's still that possibility with him being outrighted to AAA after being DFA'd. He's had success since doing so, looked great in his past couple outings that I've noticed at least, and his last previous one looked really, really sharp, touching 99 on the velo as well. Bryce Montes de Oca, who again is a flamethrower, but if that elbow is not looking sharp, then we have ourselves a problem, folks. So Montes de Oca, I'm wishing him a very speedy recovery. I have no clue what this means for him in his future, but things are looking fairly bleak at the moment, so I'm just wishing the best for him and his family, and hopefully, again, he can rebound strong at some point in the 2025 season, if it's not going to be a complete shutdown yet again here for 2025, which would be brutal, but sadly, that could be a reality for Bryce until we find out further information. And then Mike Puma of the New York Post states the following: the Mets' latest updates here on Vinny Nunez is scheduled to throw a bullpen on the mound technically today. This was from yesterday's report. Bear that in mind, everybody, at the time of recording this, that being August 11th. So we're going to see Vinny Nunez finally back on the mound throwing. We'll see how he does today. We'll break that down in our post-game coverage later tonight, if not in a separate Big Mets update video that we'll post the following day. Sean Reed-Foley is scheduled to pitch 1+ inning for AAA Syracuse. SRF is pretty much done at the rehab level at AAA. He'll be called up in the coming days for the Mets, and that's where they will have a big decision as to what to do with one of Danny Young or Adam Ottavino. Or, and I will say, don't be shocked, the Mets do consider parting ways with Phil Maton because of their bullpen configuration before the season's end. Not that I think Maton's horrendous or anything like that, but I just think a soft-tossing right-hander versus the other options the Mets have could find himself on the outside looking in if they still do, in fact, go full through and cut Adam Ottavino, figure out that they want to keep Danny Young in the bullpen as a lone southpaw option, which makes sense. Then what do you do once Vinny Nunez is back? That is where you can either A, take advantage of the rosters expanding, which the Mets might, might not in case of Nunez there. They might deem it's better to consider someone else in that role on the pitching front. If that is going to be the case here, we do have to wonder, in the case of Sean Reed-Foley, once he's back and once Vinny Nunez is back, again, what is going to happen with this bullpen configuration right now? Guys like Adam Ottavino, Danny Young, and Phil Maton, three arms to watch, as one, if if not multiple, will be dropped in the coming days or the next couple weeks as the Mets continue to figure out their bullpen configuration. And Starling Marte is scheduled to continue to play games now at the Rumble Pony level. Marte was looking fantastic in his rehab, had a home run, had a stolen base, had a single just to kick off his first couple games in Port St. Lucie. Now with the Rumble Ponies is going to consistently play 7 to 8 innings that we're going to see in the field as well, making sure that he's feeling fresh and feeling healthy. Mendoza has spoken glowingly of Marte to this point, stating that he's feeling great. Things continue to trend in the right direction. And let's not forget, this goes way back to June when Marte first went down and went injury. Once he had no pain left with that bone bruise, it would be a fast, quick ramp up according to Mendoza. That is holding true. Expect Starling Marte to be activated by the Mets potentially as soon as sometime over this next week, and that'll be very exciting. Should that happen, expect Ben Gamble to be the corresponding move sent back down to the AAA level. So folks, that's going to do it for all the latest key Mets updates, the big Mets updates here in Metsland. I want to know, what is your biggest takeaway out of all of them in the comments down below? How do you feel about the latest Mets bullpen configuration, adding Vinny Nittoli to the AAA level, a guy that they can consider if they're in a pinch? Not that they hope it, but again, you can never have enough arms if you're David Stearns in this Mets bullpen and this staff that leads all the National League in walks this season still, which is, yes, as outrageous as it sounds. Let me know all your thoughts down below, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more consistent coverage on all things Mets, all in season and off season long. This is your guy Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace.